I'm here at Scenic Beach in early October. Early in the morning. We're about 2 hours away from low tide, and as you can see, I'm fishing a topwater fly, and for me it's a new one, but it has actually been around quite a while, and it's J. Paulson's Titanic. You can see it makes quite a definite wake on the water, as it should. It's just a beautiful morning, unbelievable. So I'm making my way slowly along the beach, making a few casts every 5 or 6 paces, and so far nothing. But I'm heading towards that sunken tree over there, which is one of the very few features actually on this beach, and that's a place I have caught fish before. So when I get over there, who knows, I have some luck. Equally, it could be that there are just no fish on the beach at the moment. It's like that in Hood Canal this time of year. You can have tons of fish or none at all. Just have to wait and see. I don't know if you saw that, but there was a little fish jumping right by the tree. So that answers the question as to whether there are any fish here today. There's at least one. He was right there. Oh yeah. Don't want him to get in that tree. Got him. Oh, that's a beautiful fish. That is just a stupendous fish. It's got just on the side of the mouth, that's the hook out. And I'll wet my hands. I'm going to measure him against the rod very quickly. Hold on, bud. Okay. Oh. There it's gone. 17 inches. Awesome. On the J. Paulson Titanic. And that's the little fly that did it. You can see that. Oh, another one. See that little swirl there? Almost exactly the same spot. And he's coming again. Pretty tentative. Oh, that looked like another big fish. This tree is obviously the hot spot. There it goes again. Oh, oh. And that's a good fish out there. Just got to be patient. Maybe he'll come back. That may not be apparent in the footage, but I feel that the fog, the mist, has moved across the water quite a lot, and it's reaching me now. And it's possible that the presence of that mist is what has turned the fish on to start feeding. They feel confident in the lower light. Okay. I'm almost fully enveloped in mist now, and it's time for me to move to the other side of that log. I have seen a fish or two popping up over on that side, so away we go. Oh. Hitting this thing so aggressively. Just wish I could make more positive contact. So it's now right at low tide, and with this mist the temperature has dropped like 20 degrees. It feels like it's almost too cold to fish, and I'm finding it hard to concentrate. But I have figured some things out. So I took off the original fly I had on, which was this one, because it's just getting a bit chewed up. Put on another one, and it just would spin and spin and spin, so that I couldn't fish it at all. So I've changed to a fly where I've got a slightly heavier wire hook on it, and this one isn't spinning, and I think it's because that heavier hook is acting as a keel and keeping it more stable in the water. So that's useful to know. But the bites are completely stopped, so I don't know if that's the state of the tide, or whether it's because they don't like this chartreuse one, or what, I don't know. I'll see if I've got a white one with a heavier hook and maybe try that. But at the moment I'm just trying to keep warm. Okay, that was a bite on the chartreuse one, so I'm going to stay with that. Gun. It's followed all the way in. Got one. Just a little one. Feisty as all get out. There he is. That came on the chartreuse one. Set him out. There he goes. Don't know if you can hear that, but there is a sea lion really close to me, so I can hear him exhaling and grunting, and I have no idea how close he is to me. Sounds very close. It's quite eerie in this mist to have such a big animal nearby. So just as my core temperature is starting to become untenable, the fog is lifting from the north. The clearing part hasn't reached me yet, but I'm really looking forward to that because I am cold. Well, the fog's finally gone and the magnificence of those mountains once again revealed, but the sun is now full on the water, and I don't think there's going to be any more fish for me today, so I'm going to probably call it quits. So here I am freezing my butt off on Hood Canal Scenic Beach, and I've been spending the morning checking out a really unusual topwater fly called the Titanic, and it's kind of shaped like a boat. It's made out of foam, and it was designed by a fellow called Jay Paulson, and I learnt about it from someone called Vic Cutter. Now Vic had watched one of my videos and he got in touch and we had some really good phone conversations. And Vic has probably forgotten more about sea run fishing than I'll ever learn in the rest of my life. But one of the things he talked about was this fly, the Titanic, and he suggested I check it out. And Vic was generous enough to send me a package full of the foam blanks that you use to make the fly, and I've got some of them there that I've been using today. It's a really interesting fly. I've had great fun checking it out. Like a lot of topwater flies, you don't connect with a lot of the fish, but it definitely attracts the fish. So when I get home, I'm going to show you how I tie the Titanic. Okay, so in my vise I've got the same white Titanic pattern that I used to catch the nice cutty you saw earlier in the video. As you can see, the front part of the fly is just a piece of foam that's been cut and glued to resemble the hull of a boat. Now when you strip this fly, it rides on the water just like a tiny, obnoxious little speedboat, and it displaces a lot of water, making a nice wake even at a low retrieve speed. I've also had success with an olive version. Actually, this one still has some tippet attached. I know it's caught several fish, and you can see some tooth marks on it. It's constructed in the same general way as the white one. It's got an undertail of a little clump of olive bucktail, and on top of that there's some Enrico Pugliese 3D minnow fiber in olive, and just a few strands of root beer Krystal Flash. Now here's the bag of Titanic hulls that I was sent, very kindly, and this represents only a small part of what I actually got. I'm not going to reproduce the template for these in my video because Jay Paulson actually has a website where he offers his Titanic flies for sale, and you can get from him a set of templates right on the website. So it's at www.amazingflies.com. Now, I am not affiliated with him in any way at all. I'm just passing on the information so that you can go straight to the source. I am fortunate enough to have received all these pre-cut blanks, so I just use one of these for my template. For this size of fly you need 2mm fly foam. The other thing you need is contact cement. This one happens to be the brand from my local hardware store. I'm grateful to Vic for his advice to use this stuff rather than super glue. It's pretty messy, and so I use a toothpick to apply it. You need to apply a really thin layer to both sides of the V-shaped notch that's going to form the front of the hull. You can see on this one I've cut that notch with sloping edges so they'll come together neatly. And let the cement cure for 10 minutes. Now just bring those tips together and then use your fingernails to just press those edges. And that's going to form an instantaneous and pretty indestructible bond right there. I'm going to use a standard straight eye saltwater hook in a strong wire, size 6. I've lost the label on these, but I think it's a Tiemco 811S. Don't use a fine wire hook or the fly will tend to spin. You need the weight of the hook to keel the fly. It doesn't really matter what thread you use. I'm using a UTC 140 denier, and that's going to help me bind down the foam I'll be using for the body later on. So you want to start the thread a couple of millimeters from the hook eye. Take it all the way back until it's about level with where the barb would be. Like that. Now to make a nice platform for the tail, I'm going to use this faux bucktail. It's got fairly stiff fibers, and that will help keep the tail from fouling the hook. And it's very important not to use your finest scissors when cutting this material because it'll blunt them. I'm only using a small bunch. I'm going to make it about 1.5 hook shank lengths. I'll cut away the excess at an angle. Now I'm going to return the thread to the base of the tail. Right, on top of that fake bucktail, I'm going to use some Pearl Baitfish Emulator. This is super easy to use because it comes already tied as a kind of a skirt, like that. So I just need a scant 1/4 of an inch. In large part, my choice of materials for this comes down to what I've got available. I think this is a pattern where you could experiment with your own choice of materials. So I've set that baitfish flash right on top of the bucktail, and I'm going to cut away the excess at an angle and then just tidy up. Once again, I'll take the thread back to the tail. Now I've got 2 pieces of Krystal Flash in silver, and I'm going to tie those along on my edge of the tail. Try and get them how I want them. And I'll just fold them back and tie them along the other side. Okay, now we're ready to put on a body. So I've cut this strip of the white fly foam just a couple of millimeters wide, and I've tapered the end to a point. Now I'll attach that just behind the eye. I did experiment with various things, different chenilles, but honestly I just don't think that the fish are going to see much of that body above the boat, and less is sometimes more. Now just a word about super glue. The first flies that I tied just fell apart after exposure to salt water, and it turns out you need to use fresh super glue to avoid having that happen. Again, I'm grateful to Vic Cutter for pointing this out. So I use the inexpensive glue that I get on Amazon, which comes in a pack of multiple tubes, and I just use a fresh tube each time I go to make a batch of flies, and that way they're never going to come apart. So a little bit of that fresh glue applied to the body, and then I'll wrap my my piece of foam under tension as I go. I figured nothing sticks to foam better than more foam. This is going to bond with the hull really well. Keep it under tension, and then I'll tie that off really securely. Cut away what I don't need. Just tidy it up a little bit. And then apply a whip finish. Now I'm going to take one of those hulls that I glued up a little bit earlier. Here we are. And with my bodkin I'm going to poke a hole right in the center of it. Now I'll rotate my vise and push the eye of the hook through the foam, and the glued tips face towards the front of the fly. A little bit of that freshly opened glue again. Now, being really careful to keep the hook shank centered along the hull, I'm just going to apply a little pressure, and I like to use a medium-sized binder clip just to keep that held together until the glue is dry. And there you have it. Like I say, this is very much a style of a fly rather than an established pattern, so you can play around with the design. Also, I've found it fishes much better if you attach it with a clinch knot instead of on a loop. So I hope you give it a try. Good luck and thanks very much for watching.